It was an ordinary day at the Louvre, until it wasn't. On 19 October 2025, a group of thieves in construction uniforms slipped into the Galerie d'Apollon and vanished minutes later, leaving behind empty display cases and stunned guards. In under 8 minutes, only 4 of which were spent inside the museum, they stole 8 pieces of the French crown jewels worth $102 million. How is it even possible? Let's figure it out. It's October 10th, and the thieves begin with deception. Under a false pretext, they manage to steal a basket lift. According to a Paris prosecutor, they set up an appointment with the company that owns the truck and then drive away with it using threats. The company files a complaint for theft in the town of Louvre, only 12 miles north of Paris. The name catches attention everywhere. Is its resemblance to Louvre just a coincidence? Fast forward to October 19th. The Louvre Museum opens to visitors as usual at 9 a.m. Half an hour later, thieves dressed as renovation workers park a truck equipped with a freight lift, a familiar sight in Paris, on the sidewalk at the foot of the Louvre. They set out traffic cones to complete the illusion of a maintenance operation. Then, 2 of them climb a ladder to a balcony and slip inside through a window. Just 4 minutes later, the 2 thieves slip into the south end of the Apollo Gallery. In the security control room, an alarm suddenly blares. A staff member grabs the radio and alerts the command center. Intruders have entered the Louvre. A minute passes. The robber pulls out disc cutters and slices cleanly through the glass of 2 display cases, taking the jewels inside. Security officers don't approach them. They rush to evacuate visitors, following safety protocols designed to protect the crowd. In her office, the museum manager grabs the phone and calls the nearest police station. A theft is in progress, and she needs help immediately. Another 2 minutes. At the command center, the team leader slams a special button connected directly to Paris Police headquarters. An alert flashes across staff screens. All museum doors are to be sealed immediately. And still, just 1 minute later, the thieves climb back out through the same window and flee east, where 2 accomplices wait on scooters. They speed off into the streets of Paris, leaving behind a yellow construction jacket and several tools, including a disc cutter. Security officers on site manage to stop one of the thieves from setting the truck with the freight lift on fire. Later that day, the emerald-set imperial crown of Empress Eugénie, the wife of Napoleon III, adorned with more than 1,300 diamonds, is found abandoned outside the museum. But the thieves escape with 8 other objects of priceless historical value. The museum reopens 3 days later on October 22nd. More than 100 investigators are working on the case. They're assisted by forensic experts who are analyzing surveillance footage and 150 samples collected from the basket lift inside the museum and from items left behind. Police suspect the thieves had help, someone who knows the Louvre's routines, the guards' shifts, and even the timing of the alarms. In a sterile lab, forensic experts examine a glove, a helmet, and a yellow safety vest, each marked with traces of DNA. The evidence point towards organized jewel thief rings operating across Europe. Some even name the Pink Panther Gang, a network notorious for lightning-fast, non-violent heists from Monaco to Geneva. 5 days later, on October 25th, the investigation closes in on Seine-Saint-Denis. Surveillance teams watch every doorway and listen to every phone signal. Night falls and tension spreads through the command center. At 10 p.m., officers move in at Charles de Gaulle Airport. A man walks calmly towards his gate, believing he's minutes from escape. He never reaches the plane. At 10:30 p.m., another team gathers outside a small apartment north of Paris. Their earpieces crackle. The signal comes. In seconds, the door is breached, shouts echo, and it's over. Detectives catalog every scrap of evidence: DNA fragments, scorched tools, glints of broken glass. The 2 men seem like pawns in someone else's plan. So far, the true masterminds, those who conceived and coordinated the Louvre heist, remain shadows, somewhere out there in the night. But it's not the first time the Louvre's alarms have sounded. The museum has always been both a fortress and a target. It's August 21st, 1911. Morning light spills into the Salon Carré. Visitors shuffle quietly past rows of Renaissance paintings. Among the staff is Vincenzo Peruggia, a slight Italian man in his late 20s. He's wearing an old Louvre uniform, the same clothes he wore when he was employed there as a carpenter. He knows the halls, the guards, and the routines, and he knows that on Mondays, the museum is closed to the public. He walks in unnoticed. The Mona Lisa, then considered an elegant but not world-famous work by Leonardo da Vinci, hangs modestly on a wall between two other paintings. Without hesitation, Perugia lifts it from its hooks, removes it from its protective case, one he had helped construct, and hides the panel under his smock. He leaves through a side stairwell and out into the Paris morning, carrying along the world's most famous smile. More than a day passes before anyone realizes the painting's gone. A visiting artist setting up to copy it stares at the empty space on the wall. Only 2 iron hooks remain. The staff assumes the piece has been removed for photography or cleaning. But when the head of security calls the photography department, no one knows anything, and panic spreads. The following investigation is frantic. Newspapers across Europe tell the news. Detectives question artists, collectors, museum workers. Even a young Pablo Picasso is hauled in for questioning after police discover that he once purchased 2 stolen Iberian heads from the Louvre years earlier. Picasso, pretty terrified, quickly returns them and is cleared. Months, then years pass, and leads dry up. Finally, in 1913, a letter arrives at an art dealer's office in Florence. Perugia, using the alias Leonardo, offers to sell the Mona Lisa, claiming he wants to return the masterpiece to Italy. When the dealer and the director of the Uffizi Gallery meet him in a hotel room, they open the false bottom of a trunk, and there she is. During his trial, Perugia insists that he acted out of patriotism, believing the painting had been stolen from Italy. In truth, Da Vinci painted it in France, and King Francis I bought it legally in 1518. The court sentences Perugia to a brief prison term. But by then, what was once a modest Renaissance portrait becomes the most famous painting on Earth. Security troubles continue to haunt the Louvre. In 1966, a collection of antique jewelry on loan to a Virginia museum vanishes on its way back to France. The jewels are later discovered in a grocery bag in New York. A decade later, in January 1976, a Flemish painting disappears. In December, masked men climb a scaffold, break through a second-floor window, and steal a jeweled sword once owned by King Charles X. The sword has never been recovered. Then comes 1990. Thieves walk into the museum in broad daylight and cut a small Renoir in its frame. They escape with it and 12 pieces of ancient Roman jewelry. 5 years later, 2 more objects vanish in a single week. And in 1998, a painting by Camille Corot is sliced from its frame and disappears. It remains missing decades later. Each thief leaves behind the same question: how can the world's most visited museum, equipped with modern alarms and cameras, remain so vulnerable? Critics accuse the Louvre of outdated systems and lax supervision. The museum responds with upgrades, reinforced glass, and motion sensors, even commissioning a full security audit in recent years. But for all its precautions, even now, more than a century after the Mona Lisa smiled her way into history, the sound of a distant alarm still feels like an echo of that same audacious morning in 1911.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.